Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
Y'all ready for this?
All right, average Jocks fans, welcome back to another episode. Today we have a NHL great goalie, played for Washington pretty well his whole career, a few games with Tampa. Olaf Kölzig, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, spot on. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. So, growing up, if I read correctly, you were born in South Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you moved to Canada. I know it said in your teen years, but when exactly did you come from South Africa to Canada, or did you go anywhere before that?
No, well, we spent a little bit of time in Copenhagen, and I moved to Edmonton when I was about 4.
Okay.
Yeah, so long before my teen years.
Okay, yeah. So you picked up hockey, I'm assuming, when you moved to Canada, because I feel like everybody that comes here is just right into hockey.
My dad got me into it.
Yeah.
He never played the game, but he watched a lot of it when he was over in Europe. And like you said, once you're in Canada, it's religion up there. So he got me into it, and but I got introduced in the outdoor rinks in Edmonton. So anybody who's been to Edmonton in January and February, the last thing you want to do is be getting hit by a puck outside.
Yeah.
So I got introduced the hard way.
Yeah, no, even getting hit with the wind and out there would be just as cold as getting hit with a puck.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you get thrown right in the net, or did you kind of test the waters with a forward or defense, or was it kind of right in the goalie?
No, I didn't. I first 6-7 years I played all the positions.
Okay.
But at that age, everybody's got to go in net once. And so funny little story. The time I got put in net, like I told you, it was freezing, and you're not moving. You're even colder than everybody else, and the other team kid got a breakaway on me, and I said, "There's no way I'm getting hit by this puck," and I got out of my crease and hid behind the net. So I don't think anybody back then thought that I would have any sort of career as a goaltender.
Well, looking back at it, you can obviously say it's a funny story because you had a great career, so that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And I mean, let's be real. I'm 28 years old and play beer league, and I flamingo every time a puck comes near me. Like, I'm not even blocking shots. You block shots for a living, so.
You don't block shots in beer league. Come on. Yeah. Not a chance.
Honestly, it's not even blocking shots. It's more or less people shooting it that, might not know where it's going when I get hit with it, but it happens. That's why I wear a full cage.
That's right. That's right. There's no defense in men's league.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Do you still strap them on every once in a while? I know you're.
Honestly, I haven't put my pads on since my last game.
No way.
I've had a couple major surgeries on my hips, just from years of playing, and I know that if I did put them on, I would get competitive again, and then I would put myself in situations where all that good work the surgeons did would have been thrown right out the window. So if I'm involved in an alumni game or anything like that, I'm usually a power forward or a stay-at-home defenseman.
I mean, at least you're honest about it. Some guys still say like, "Oh, I'd put them on, I'd be just right," but at least you're honest about it, which I love. Because
no pride here.
Like, yeah, you got to be honest, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's we had Gary Roberts on a couple weeks ago, and he even said, he's 50. I think he's 56. He's recovering from a torn bicep. And he's like, "Oh, I think if I could still play out there, I have fun and stuff." And I'm like, man, I get like a sore back and I don't even want to play on Sundays. Like,
that's ironic because I played with Rob. It was my last year when I was in Tampa.
Okay.
And I tore my biceps while I was there. So that's funny.
That's right. Yeah, I read that. Yeah. And you also
he's a fit guy.
Yeah, he is. He still is. Like, when it was me, my buddy, my other co-host, which I hope he didn't die in the toilet like Elvis or something, because I don't know what's going on up there. I'm at his house in his basement doing this right now. Like I wasn't gonna make you wait, so I had to start. But
Oh my
he had
God.
surgery. Yeah, I know he had surgery 3 weeks ago with gastro bypass, and so I did the thing with Gary, and Gary's in his gym. He's got his workout gear on, and I'm just like, Gary, did you just get finished working out? He goes, oh, just did some rowing and some light weights, and I'm like going home, getting McDonald's on the way home. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy how in shape that guy still is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's his way of life now, right? He owns that training center, and
Yeah,
you gotta kind of present yourself
yeah,
in a way that you kind of know what you're talking about if you want to get these NHL players to sign on.
yeah. No, yeah. And you talked about your bicep injury. You also had another major injury when you were playing for Washington, right? If I read correctly.
I had a few of them. I had several knee injuries where I had required arthroscopic surgery, but my last year there, I had a labral tear in my hip um, that I didn't get fixed until the season was over, and then the following year I played in Tampa. Um, that being my last year, and then shortly after I retired, the hips were getting so bad that I had to have what they call a Birmingham hip replacement, which is not a total hip replacement, but um, they shave down your femur head and your socket, and they put a metal cap and a metal cup um, in there, and so you still have your full use of your bone. And once you're healed, I was free to do anything, run, jump, whatever. Um, but I was probably laid up for, well, I wouldn't say laid up. They got me on my feet right away, but yeah, probably 10 weeks of recovery before I was back to, going on the golf course or whatever. But those are the things that happen to athletes over a long career. And I see it now more than ever, these younger goalies, especially with the way they play, with the reverse VH and sliding back and forth on their knees all the time. And a lot of these kids are having similar hip issues, and wouldn't be surprised if a lot of these guys got to have the same procedure done when they retire.
Yeah, and like a lot of these guys nowadays, like they go post to post, and like I'm pretty sure they lose like an inch on their jaw cup because like they're doing the splits going across. Like just it's just crazy to see that. Like I remember watching you and like Marty growing up. Like that was when I started loving hockey. Like you guys were flexible for what you were doing, but like compared to what these kids are doing nowadays, it's crazy.
Yeah, my body wouldn't allow me to do the things they're doing now. It's crazy. We were always taught to play on our feet, and then
Yeah.
go down when you need to go down. But the game's a little different. It's faster. It's a lot more east west. There's so many. I wouldn't say gimmicky plays. Obviously, the Michigan is the new fad now. These players try to do on goalies, and so they've got to cover. They got to cover as much of the net um, as they can.
Yeah. No, for sure. um, so like when you first started, I remember like you got drafted in I think 89,
Yep.
right? For 89. And then it took a couple years before you kind of got up into you started as a you came up as a backup for Drew Carey? Jim Carey.
Yeah,
Drew
Jim
Carey's the
Carrey. Yeah.
actor. Yeah, Drew Carey. Yeah, okay, yeah, my bad. And then like before you kind of got called up, you put a few years in the minors. Were you like, some guys kind of get worried that they won't get their chance. Were you worried at any point that you weren't going to get your chance to show everybody your talent?
Well, my road was a little different. I got my chance early. I made the team initially at a training camp in '89 as a 19-year-old. I had a great training camp. We went over to Russia. We were one of the first NHL teams to have training camp over in Russia. And myself, Byron Defoe, were the only two rookies that were on the trip, and happened to be both goalies. And we kind of pushed each other at training camp. And I ended up winning the battle and made the team out of camp. And I only lasted about a month before they decided that, I wasn't ready to be up there full time. And so I went back to junior. Um, and then it took me probably a good 3-4 years to before I got called up again. And
Yeah.
I think when I got sent back to junior, I came back with the wrong attitude, not a bad attitude, just the wrong attitude. And thinking that, I made the NHL as a 19-year-old, coming back to junior, I should be able to dominate. Well, you don't realize, and that's what I tell my young guys now, uh, is that once you get up to speed, playing in the NHL is relatively easy. Everybody's the best at what they do. Everybody does their job perfectly for the most part. But every level you go down, that talent obviously gets less and less, and guys don't do the job as well. And coming back to junior, and it was just pure, it was just chaos, and I couldn't play the way I wanted to play because I had to be leery of a backdoor play. Or so when I first came back, I was too aggressive. I was getting lit up, and then your confidence takes a hit, and then you start questioning yourself, and then you go back to training camp thinking, well, I made it the year before. Um, I'm going to make it this year, and so there was just a little too much thinking going on. Where my first camp, I didn't even expect to be there past training camp, and so you don't think, you just go and play. But then years go by, and you start thinking too much, and my good friend of mine always says, when you think, you stink. So you got to find for me, I had to find a good balance. I was a very emotional goalie. I wore my emotions on my sleeve. I would get upset real quick. It wasn't and sometimes I wouldn't channel it in the right way, and so it took me a good 3-4 years before I was able to channel my emotions in the right way, so that it wouldn't affect how I play in the game. And once I did that, I became more consistent. And once you become more consistent, that's when teams are willing to call you up, because they know they're calling up a consistent player. And the biggest thing so I do player development for the Caps now, because one of the things I tell our young guys is, you need to develop a form of consistency before you even think about playing in the NHL. Because even the American League level, coaches aren't going to play the young guys if they're not going to be consistent. And so try to help these kids try to develop some skills that they don't get too high when things are going well, or they don't get too low when they're struggling. And once they master that, the consistency really shows. And then more times than not, they'll usually get a call. And for a few of them, they end up not coming back to Hershey. So that was my biggest thing. Not to turn this little story into a novel, but
No.
that was my biggest thing, is that I had to control my emotions, which once I did, I was able to play consistent goal.
And I feel like it's not just you that had that, like, I didn't say problem with wearing your emotions on your sleeve, because obviously it's a good thing to have. But like, you definitely weren't the only one. A lot of guys, you're, like you said, once you have you said had a couple of bad games, and then you're upset, you're down on yourself. You're like, fuck, did I even go out this game? And stuff like that. But hey, it ended up working out for you, because you had yourself a great career. So
And you know what? And it honestly, it was probably a strength of mine as well. And then you love seeing, now obviously I'm on the other side of the door and on the management side, and you love seeing players play with passion and emotion. And but it's a fine line. You need to channel it the right way, and then when you do, you can be a very effective player.
Yeah. How was that switch for you from, when you retired? I know you retired on September 23rd, my birthday, which was pretty cool when I was reading. I don't remember what year, 2009. 9.
God, I didn't even remember the day I retired. I knew the year, but I didn't remember.
Well,
the
I
day.
mean, it says the 23rd online. I mean, as much as I believe it, I mean, I'm gonna.
Well, that might be the official day I announced
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah. And how long did it take for you to be like, you know what, I want to stay a part of the game, and start coaching these young kids and show them the next step to make the jump?
I'd say 2 years. Yeah, I retired, and I wanted to spend more time at home. My kids were young, and throughout the early years of their lives, I wasn't around as much, and so I missed a lot of milestones and events. And so I wanted to be there a little more, take them to school, Take them to daddy-daughter dances and just be a dad and
Yeah.
not worry about being on the road. So I did that for a couple of years, and I think there is a big transition when you go from being a player to being at home all the time, and not always just the player, but the family. Your family's used to you being gone half the time, so everybody has their routines and schedules. And then when you're home all the time, your wife's got a certain way of parenting. Um, then I come in and then I want to parent a certain way, and so it just kind of the whole dynamic of the household got kind of thrown up in a whirlwind. So after about 2 years, I think everybody was pretty happy to see me go back to work and leave leave a few days of the month.
All right, now he's here. He's all he's ready to go.
This on?
Is he feeling lighter?
Very, very much so. Nature calls. Well, welcome. Hi.
No, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, that's great.
You want to catch me up on where we're at?
No, we just talked about him switching from player to coach and stuff like that. So I haven't gotten too far into it. But
Perfect.
we kind of, for the first 5 minutes, we kind of gave you the gears, but
Oh, that's okay.
I mean,
I deserve it.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to knock me down a few pegs.
no, and also, so like I was just saying with the coaching, did you go and call Washington, or they kind of call you and say, hey, we got a spot, do you want it, do you not want it?
So Dave Pryor was my goalie coach when I was in Washington, and Dave was still there for a number of years after I'd left. And I always stayed in touch with him. I talked all the time, and he knew I wanted to kind of get back into it. And he suggested being an associate goalie coach, and that meant I'd go down to Hershey in South Carolina and work with all our prospects, and it just required me to be, fly in for 10 to 14 days. And so it worked out perfectly. I went up there and did that for a number of years before I became the head guy in Washington. And then right around that time is when the job of a goaltender coach went from, when I was playing, Dave would come in for a week, and really only if I needed something in my game corrected. If not, he would just come in and we did some maintenance stuff. And but for the most part, he'd be in there 10 days a month, and then he'd go down to the minors, and he'd go track all our junior guys that we drafted, or our college guys. And so it was more of a I'm not saying part-time gig, but he wouldn't be required to be in Washington full time. When I took over that role, that was starting to change, and they wanted the goaltending coach to be there full time, be on the ice every day. And my family was living in Florida at the time, and they were doing well, and I didn't want to uproot everybody and bring them to DC. And so I did that for 1 year, and then realized that's not for me. I'm not home enough. And so I approached Ryan McClellan about the player development role, and not just a typical player development role where you're doing skill development and things like that, but more of a mentor role, helping these kids transition from junior and college and European hockey, help them become pros. And that means, like, helping them go to the grocery store to figure out, what foods to get, helping them get established in their apartments and getting their bills in order and put on auto pay and all these things that I think we take for granted when we're adults. But when you're an 18, 19, 20-year-old that's lived with a billet your whole life, and now you're on your own, and you're required to perform really at a high level in a game. I thought that, because I never had anybody help me with that stuff. You kind of just learned on the fly. So I presented it to them about helping these kids transition a lot quicker, helping them get organized, helping them because now all of a sudden they go from when you're junior hockey, you're at school, you're at the rink, you're doing community stuff. Your time is basically taken up every day. Well, when you're a professional, you're just supposed to be at the rink for a couple hours, 3 hours a day, and then you've got all this free time. So it was about helping these kids learn about time management, getting involved in something, whether it, take a course online, get involved with a charity, just something that, instead of leaving the rink and going home, playing video games, and then taking a nap for 3 hours and getting up, having dinner, binge watching Netflix, and then kind of do the same thing again the next day. It's just be more productive. And so I think it's gone really well. I think I got a lot of good feedback from the guys, especially a couple of years down the road when they're finally established, and say, hey, thanks, thanks for helping me out back in the day when I first got there. I mean, I would have been lost, had you not helped me. So it's a cool gig, and it requires me to, be there 10 days, 14 days a month, make some phone calls, checking in with the guys. Now I go around and watch all our draft picks, so that I establish a relationship with these kids early before they become pros. And so it's a lot of fun.
Your job sounds like pretty much what your wife, or my wife, sorry, does for me. It brings me to the grocery store, shows me what foods I should be eating.
Yeah.
Make sure all the bills are paid.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have control over my finances. So
no, we have a shared bank account for a reason. I am very irresponsible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now, thankfully, we've got a nutritionist on board that right at the beginning of every year, she takes the first year guys out and properly shows them, where to shop, what to get. So that's one less thing I need to worry about.
Yeah, I recently started shopping for my own clothes, so that's a big step. Big step over here.
And I mean, like you said too, like nowadays these kids have all this stuff. Like when you were playing, like a nutritionist, like if you would have said that word back when you were playing, the guys would look to you like, what the fuck is that? Like it's just so crazy.
Well, but you know what? We were fortunate in Washington. We did have a nutritionist, and she was great. Pat Mann was awesome. I mean, we were fortunate to have her. She was only there, probably 7-8 years that I was there, and then we never really replaced her. But I just saw how important it was, and learning the proper way to eat, before games, and in junior we go to Arby's and get a roast beef sandwich and curly fries and a Diet Coke. I mean, obviously the game has changed at every level now, and players at every level are eating way better, training way harder, training differently. So the tools for these kids, there's no excuses anymore. Not that there were a lot back then, but now, if you're not utilizing these things, then shame on you for not trying to make yourself the best.
Feel shame.
Yeah.
Feel shame. Yeah.
Yeah. Love it.
The old Denny Lemieux.
Yeah.
So I guess that being said, like you're talking about everybody being super fit now and having such, I guess, mental strength, because I mean, I definitely don't have the willpower to eat and train like that. I went to the gym for an hour today and maybe did 40 minutes of actual work there, and I'm like, I'm done for the week. We're good.
Yeah.
We're good. So who is the best in shape, or like the guy that took it the most seriously when you were playing?
Well, we were talking about Gary Roberts before you came back. My last year in Tampa, Rob's had signed there for a year, and so did I. And I think Gary's 3 or 4 years older than me. And, I always thought I worked hard and I was in good shape, but man, seeing this guy at, what would he have been there in 43? Yeah, 43. I'm like, wow, this guy, I wish I was in this good a shape when I was 20. He was unbelievable. Who else? One guy that I didn't play with, but I've been around for a while now, is Brooks Orpik. And Brooks was another guy, a lot like Gary, was real really conscious about what he put in his body, trained hard. Who else? I mean, there were a lot of guys that were ripped and in good shape, but they were just kind of natural that way. They didn't necessarily need to work that hard at it. But I would definitely say Robs and Brooks were the two guys.
Well, I mean, the reason those boys' names are on the Stanley Cup. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
So I don't know if you addressed this, playing a little catch up, but I mean, you won the cup as goalie coach.
As development coach.
Sorry, as development. Yeah. Do you feel like it's a different sense of winning as in that mentor and that development role than it would be if you were playing? Or is it all the same, your name's on the cup?
Winning it is winning it. Because I mean, it does take a total team. And when I say that, it's obviously not just the 20 guys that dress every game, but it's the coaches, it's the people behind the scenes. It truly is a team effort. Now, having said that, would I have liked to have carried the cup around on my gear with skates on and be part of the champagne in the dressing room after? And of course, I mean, we had a chance in 98. Unfortunately, we ran into a buzzsaw with the Detroit Red Wings. But I still got to spend my time with the cup. I still got to be around the team. I was in the parade. It was amazing. I could imagine that winning it as a player is probably a little bit more amazing, just because you went to war with your buddies on the ice, blood, sweat, and tears, and what you sacrificed, and those kind of feelings can't be duplicated when you're sitting in a suit in the stands. But like I said, we won it. It was a total team effort from the guy that sharpens the skates to the guy that the strength guy to the player development guys to everybody. It was a total team effort. I mean, we had 6 guys that I had the year before in Hershey that were big contributors. So
not just that. I mean, you've played with some of the guys that were on that winning team.
Yeah. I played with Nicky. I played with Ovie. What the best part about the whole thing is we came down on the ice, and Ovie was leaving the ice with the cup, and he caught me out of the corner of his eye, and he turned around and he handed me the cup. And he's, Ovie's got a certain way of talking. He goes, "Can you believe we won this, bitch?" And he was calling me a bitch. He wasn't calling the Stanley Cup a bitch. He called me a bitch.
Oh,
but that's the way we just had that kind of. We had just kind of had that kind of rapport, and I thought, the guy gets it. Like, he understands the history of the team, the people that were there before him. I'd like to think I had a hand in helping him become the guy that he is. With me being the senior guy on the team when he was there the first few years, and kind of treated him like my little brother. I thought it was a really, really cool moment.
Well, no kidding. And like you said, like, there was, you had almost both sides of it, where it was guys you played with and then guys that you helped bring to that level. So really, they can thank you for the cup.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Cool.
I accept.
Perfect.
Yeah,
that's right. They need to thank me. They need to send me a note saying thank you very much.
Yeah. And also too, like, you played for Washington pretty well your whole career, and you won the cup afterwards. Some guys go, help somewhere else development wise, but like you won it with that team that you grew up from a young kid to that veteran role. Like, that's awesome.
So that you're right. That's a good point too. It just, like, it was my family, and it was since I was 18, and even though I went to Tampa for a year, but I'm a Cap.
Again, you went there for a year, but like, if you ask anybody, in your head, Godzilla, who's he with?
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Everybody's thinking, pardon?
100%. Yeah.
Everybody's thinking Washington Capitals.
Yeah, that's the first thing. Yeah.
Does anybody address you
Even
as
though I
Godzilla, by the way?
retired retired a Toronto Maple Leaf. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
I knew that. You got traded at the trade deadline.
Yeah, I had a torn bicep, so I was out for the year.
Yeah.
And I got traded at the deadline as a salary dump. Toronto would take on my salary if Tampa gave them draft picks or something like that. And well, the funny thing is, I ended up. Toronto came into Tampa a few weeks later. I'd never gone to Toronto. It was just a paper deal. And for some reason, I felt like I had to go in and say hi to the team. I don't know why. I mean, I wasn't playing. I wasn't going to play. Ron Wilson was the coach at the time. Ron and I, he was my coach for about 5 years in Washington. So it was the weirdest thing. Like, I walked right by the Tampa dressing room, said hi to everybody, and went into the Toronto room. And, you had all these guys looking at you like, it was bizarre. So I ended up going in the coach's room for the rest of the night and just talking with Ron and, but I ended up, it was a bizarre, it was definitely a year to forget, that year in Tampa, for sure.
I mean, before we move on to anything else, Ron Wilson, I mean, he seemed like just a joy to be around during his tenure in Toronto. He didn't smile too often. What was your experience like with Ron Wilson?
I don't know if I've seen any coaches smile too often in Toronto.
That's fair. That is very fair.
Wills was great. I mean, he came in right when we needed him. In 97, 98, the year we went to the Cup. We had Jim Schoenfeld for a number of years, and Shoney was a good coach. He was a hard coach. We worked hard. No team ever outworked us, that's for sure. But coaches are hired to be fired, and at some point, the message got old with Shoney, and so we didn't play well. He gets fired, and then that was the year David Poyle got fired as well. So we brought in George McPhee, who hired Ron Wilson, and Ron he believed on giving at least one day off every week. We had 40-minute high-paced practices. There was a lot of joking going around. Like, it was just something that the team really needed at that time. And I think that's why we had such a good year and ended up translating that into playoff success. So it was just fun to come to the rink again and just play hockey. But then, like I said, coaches hired to be fired, and the same thing happened with Ron. After a certain amount of time, the message kind of gets old and players don't respond the same way. And then he gets fired. So it's just nature of the business.
Hired to get fired.
But he definitely smiled a lot more in Washington than he did in Toronto. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, but you brought up a valid point. Babcock, I don't think smiled anywhere.
Yeah.
No, I've met him. I'm not even convinced he has teeth, to be honest.
Just doesn't smile.
There's who else? Sheldon.
He didn't smile when he coached junior A hockey in Pembroke. Sheldon was either yelling at the ref or yelling at a player. So I don't really know.
Yeah, he's just not a smiler.
Yeah, like, I grew up in Pembroke. Like, that's where my dad lives, and I'd go watch Sheldon coach in Pembroke. And like, I remember he yelled so loud one time that it was quiet in the arena, packed. Like, there was not an empty seat, and he yelled so loud, I'm pretty sure I heard the linesman shit himself. He missed the call. It was blatant cross check from behind, but
I'm gonna say Pat Quinn probably was the last guy I remember smiling.
Yeah, until he got the puck in the eye, and then the next week got another puck in the other eye.
Oh, I didn't hear that part.
No, he got double black eye.
Oh, I didn't know that
no,
either. No.
Yeah. He got 2 pucks to the face in a matter of a couple weeks.
Yeah, that'll take a smile off your face real quick.
Yeah, poor bastard. So something I wanted to ask, I think it's one of the cooler nicknames. Did anybody ever address you as Godzilla? Or was that just a nickname that fans had?
No, it actually got shortened to Zilla. And there were a few guys on the team that called me Zilla. but yeah, I got the nickname actually when I was in. I got loaned out one year from Washington to Rochester, and at the time I I was a little pissed off. You're not even playing for your own organization's farm team, which was in Baltimore, but we had another prospect, Byron Defoe, and they wanted us both to play. And so obviously if we're on the same team, we're not going to play nearly as much. So
Mm-hmm.
at the time, as a 20-year-old, you don't think that way, or 22-year-old, you don't think that way. You're looking at it like, oh, they're getting rid of me. And so I went to Rochester with a chip on my shoulder, and was out to prove Washington made a mistake. And so anyway, I had a really, really good year in Roch. But again, I have a temper, and like I was telling the guys earlier, I wear my emotions on my sleeve. And so one day I came to the rink, going out for warmups, and there's this big sign in the stands that nobody beats Godzilla. It had my number, and big friggin' dinosaur holding the goalie stick, breathing fire. And I found out that the person did that because of the way I played. How if I was mad, they'd know. If I was happy, they'd know. If I was pissed off, they knew. Like you just knew it with me, because like I said, I wear it on my sleeve. And I competed hard. I had a little bit of Ron Hextall in me. I'd chop everybody if they were standing in front of me, and then so they just coined that phrase. And then I talked to the mask guy about maybe designing something along those lines, and took a few renditions before I ended up with the mask that I finally wore the rest of my career. But I remember we were in Portland the next year. I was in Portland, Maine. And they sent me the first rendition of the mask, the supposed Godzilla. Well, the friggin' dinosaur looked like Barney. So I came out for warm up, and one of the guys that talked to the sound guy. So the very first song in warm up was "I love you, you love me." Yeah. So anyway, that mask didn't last long, and it probably took a couple more renditions before I finally got the one I wanted.
So again, not a very popular number at the time for a goaltender. What went into you choosing 37?
37?
Yeah.
Well, I wanted 33. I wore that in junior. I was a big Patrick Waugh fan. But when I came to Washington, Don Beaupre was wearing it, and they'd given me 35, which I didn't like at all. And so there's no really rhyme or reason. There's no other goalie that wore it, or athlete. It was just a number that, I don't know. It just filled out the back better. I don't know. There's no rhyme or reason why I got it, but it just stuck with me. Even when Donnie got traded, I didn't take the 33.
Yeah, I can't think of any other goalie other than maybe like Brian Elliott in Philly that wore 37. And to this day,
I think the first person I think of is Olaf Kölzig. So
there's not. I mean, now obviously it's Bergeron's big 37, but goalie wise,
yeah.
Oh, now there's
Hellebuyck 37.
Yeah,
Hellebuyck wears it.
Yeah.
But he wears it because of me. At least that's what he said in his interview one year in the playoffs. So
there you
good.
go. I mean,
Good.
good.
Put that on your resume too.
Yeah,
there you go.
Won Washington the cup, and Hellebuyck wears 37 because of you.
Yeah.
When you were playing, there's a lot of guys. Some hard shots back then. What was the hardest shot you ever took? Like either like in the chest protector or like a trapper in the face, and you were just like, "Thank God I have equipment for this one."
Boy. You know what? From a guy that actually hit me with a shot was probably Ovie, to be honest with you. Al McGinnis, but I never got a piece of it. It was always blow it right by me. Same with Ally Frady. I remember my second NHL game when I was 19. We were playing at Maple Leaf Gardens, and I was playing for the Leafs at the time. And he took a slap shot from the blue line that the puck had bounced out of the net before my hand even reacted. So it was actually going by my glove as my glove was going up. It was, I'm like, ooh, don't think I'm ready for this league quite yet. So, but Ovie's it's so heavy.
And I mean, that was lucky. I mean, other than the 1 year in Tampa, and I'm not sure if you faced Washington when you were in Tampa, but how glad were you that he was on your team whenever he was tearing it up like he was? Obviously slowed down a little.
Yeah, but till this day, still ripping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't. I mean, I had to face him every day in practice.
Yeah.
I guess.
If I was on the other team, I'd only face him 2-3 times a year. I had to face him every day. And
was he at least nice? Like, house league, coach of practice was always like, shoulder. Like,
he was pretty good that way. Like he would, I mean, there was a few that would get elevated, but he, for the most part, he respected the goalies. Like he knew how hard his shot was. But we did actually play Washington once. We lost 4-1, and Ovie scored, but it wasn't a goal that's typical Ovie fashion. I think it was a rebound that went off the back of his leg and in the net.
No bragging rights there.
Would have been nice, obviously, to not be on his goal scored list, but here's what it is.
I mean, you're definitely not the only goalie, and you're not going to
be
the last one.
No kidding. I think TSN not too long ago did that list, and it was just like rolling and rolling and rolling every goalie that he scored on in his career.
I'm trying to think who. I know. God, I'm trying to think who was number one. Fleury or what's his name from the Rangers?
Lundqvist.
God, I'm getting old.
It's okay. It's okay. It's what I'm here for.
But I think those two are on the top of the list, at least from what I remember.
We're looking it up.
It's gonna be every goalie. I don't care about that. Well, he has 27 goals on Fleury, so that's got to be at the top of his list. So,
yeah, I mean that's
and to do it against Marc-Andre Fleury too, like it's not like it's a slouch goalie, like a goalie that
right.
It's like one of the best goalies to play too. Like it's just
Lundqvist too. I mean,
yeah.
He just has a knack. He's it's tough to compare generations, when you say who's the greatest ever. I mean, obviously there's stick technology's changed, rules have changed, but when you think about the goaltending position and how big and athletic and good these guys are now, for him to score that many goals against that type of goaltending, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and I think that's also part of the argument that has to be brought up. They say, the sticks are better now. People train better now. The gyms are better now. Facilities, the recovery.
Yeah.
But, you're using shittier equipment back in the day, whatever. Skates are heavier, sticks are heavier, whatever. But you're also playing stand-up goaltenders. And at the time, not very big guys.
No.
Like if you were to pull up, I mean, I wasn't born when Gretzky was tearing it up, but I'm sure the average height of the goaltender isn't like 6'2" or 6'6" and 215 pounds.
Yeah.
Well, when I got drafted in '89, I was 6'3", 220, and I was top 5%, not of goaltenders, of players.
Wow.
So now you think of it.
And that'd be considered what, average now?
Maybe just a tad above average. Yeah. Weight wise, anyway, I'm above average, but
same.
But height wise, but the other thing is too, the goalies back then wore bigger gear too. Remember we had the whole argument, wider pads, wider blockers, the jerseys. Remember Patrick Waugh?
Yeah.
The bat wing and so there's a little to be said about that too. But that's why it's always tough to argue generations. But in my opinion, I think he's the greatest goal scorer ever. Gretzky did a lot of other things other than score goals too. So. we're not saying greatest player, we're just saying greatest goal scorer.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
And if you
100%.
looked at the longevity of their careers, Gretzky started to slow off, especially when he went to New York. And, I forget what it was in his last season. I mean, like 12 goals or something, or maybe
Yeah.
even been less. But like the fact that Ovie's, knocking on 40 and he's putting up 40,
Yeah,
like
it's the best.
it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
The man's a
Yeah.
freak.
Yeah.
Yeah. As long as that, you know what? As long as that power play is going, and their power play hasn't been that good this year, but if as long as he's got Backstrom or Carlson feeding him a puck, that one timer is not going to go anywhere. He might not be as fast, get from point A to point B. They might have to, wheel him out in a walker here in 3 years, but that slap shot's not going anywhere.
No.
Yeah, no, like I watched him play in Ottawa one time, and like he was on for the first shift. Game started, puck drop, he was on, and he was on for I'd say a good 2 minutes, and he hit the post 3 times. Like the goalie, I don't remember who was playing goalie for Ottawa, but like just his shot comes off that stick so fast. He passed Messier that night with an open net, but like he scored up again, slap shot from the top of the circle.
Oh, Talbot. It was Talbot. Talbot was in that.
Okay, yeah, just like I love it. I just love it. I love watching him play. A lot of people don't like him. They don't like his game style, but I love it. I love watching Ovechkin play.
He's an old school type player.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing too. He hits like a train. Like, he's physical for the most part. He's stayed healthy. And he just, I wouldn't say he just discovered training a few years ago, but he took it a lot more serious than he did when he was younger. Because I think he's realizing now that, age is starting to catch up to him, and this record is really something he wants to get, and, he needs to stay on top of it.
Do you think that you've played with anybody that loves the game more than him? Like, he just seems like somebody. There's a handful of guys that I can think of that they'll cut to on TV or whatever between whistles, and they're smiling and it looks like they're having fun, and he's one of them.
He'd be hard pressed to find somebody that enjoys the rink more, the game more. Now he's got 2 young kids, and I don't know if you've seen any of his videos, but
yeah, Sergey was at the All-Star game this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and then I mean, I don't necessarily follow the Caps, but I know they have him out at practice quite often, or shooting at home, and
yeah. So, and Ovie's on the ice with him constantly. He's playing floor hockey with him constantly. The guy just loves the game. He lives for it. And you think with everything he's accomplished and how many games, how many years he's played, that he might start wearing a little thin or getting old, especially with him being a family man now. But comes with the same enthusiasm. He jokes around. He's the old guy in the room now. Just loves it. And you can see it in the way he plays.
No, yeah, for sure.
How crazy was it? I mean, I remember, and it's still probably like top 5 goals I've ever seen. The one where he scored on his back against Phoenix. Like, how crazy was it to be there and that happened? And it's like, this kid's like, what was he at the time? 18, 19? Like, he wasn't very old. It was one of his first few seasons.
Yeah. It was his first year. And we had his rookie dinner 2 nights before that too. So he might have been playing a little bit guilty. But we thought it was obviously an awesome goal. But we weren't surprised just because of what we saw already that year and what we see in practice. And that goal was pretty special. To me, that's his greatest goal. I don't care. And the look, the look on Wayne Gretzky, because he was coaching Phoenix at the time.
Yeah.
And then Brian Boucher couldn't believe it went in. And now that you're, what are we now? 20 plus years removed from that. And we see it more and more. It's like, wow, that really was impressive to have that kind of awareness where you are, and where your body is, and be able to manipulate your hands so you still get the shot on net. It was incredible.
Like, did anybody ask him, on purpose? Was it just like the way he fell? Like, did he mean to do this?
No, I don't think anybody asked him, but I think it was just instinct for him. He fell and he still thought he could score, and so he just manipulated his body in a way to get the shot off. And that's just pure talent. That's just pure, unadulterated talent.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, we still have a few years left. I think he'll play until he beats Gretzky.
I think so too.
But
yeah.
I mean, I guess I know we have like Connor McDavid, but it's just a different, like you said, right now there is no next in my head goal scorer like that.
Yeah.
Like, everybody seems to be able to do every facet now, and the game's getting away from the physicality, but I don't know,
Well,
just to have somebody that has that pure natural goal scoring knack.
Yeah.
Right. And longevity and staying healthy.
And the fact that he played, like you said, so physical.
Yeah.
And to remain healthy, like, those two don't normally go together.
Yeah. And Connor, he's already had a couple major injuries. And the fact that he is so fast that if he does get put off kilter or
blows a tire,
that speed going into the boards is obviously create another injury. So, and you never know. You never know with, like I said, Ovie loves the game, and I'm not saying Connor doesn't, but will he love the game, whatever it is, many years from now? I mean, he's and playing in Washington is a lot different than playing in Toronto, and playing in Edmonton, playing in Vancouver. I mean, you're constantly under the microscope when you're up, up north, and so he's got to deal with that stuff as well. And you're the captain, and this and that and this and that, and he's handled it great. But at some point, when do you say, okay, I've had enough?
Well, I mean, he already looks absolutely fucking miserable, but so would I if I was in Edmonton with.
Yeah, he looks tired all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
a lot
of pressure to put on a young kid like him, right?
Poster boy of the NHL, carrying your team. I mean, thank God he has Leon with him, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's traded. Like, if Gretzky was traded, I feel like anybody.
Anybody's available for sure. Yeah.
But I mean, it would be a monster haul coming back. But I think at some point, if Edmonton isn't able to turn it around sooner rather than later, it might be a tough conversation that's going to be having.
Yeah, I agree.
A lot of money. That's a lot of money on your salary cap too.
Yeah, because I think his contract gets bigger and bigger as the years go on, doesn't it?
I don't know what his I know what his cap hit is at like 12, but I mean, fuck, the way they're handing out money nowadays is, there's going to be some fourth line players making 8, 9, 10.
Yeah, well, yeah, I seen a thing on, I don't know, on a Montreal page that Montembeault, they said that they're going to pay Montembeault $10 million next year.
Okay.
I damn near threw my phone across the room. I said,
not a chance.
Not a chance. No. Like, we're both diehard Habs fans, so for us to have to accept Carey Price being finished and accepting another goalie into our arms is it's a tough pill to swallow right now.
I mean, to me, the bar is set with Vasilevsky and I guess this season Allmark.
Yeah.
Allmark's making $5 million. You can't make a case to me that anybody putting up numbers below what those two boys are putting up deserves, anything more. So,
yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Question: Washington brought back the beautiful black with the eagle.
Yeah.
Do you prefer that original black, blue, gold, or do you like the red, navy, white?
No, I like the red, white, and blue. I mean, that's you're in the nation's capital, and I mean, at first when it happened, when they did the uniform change, that was pretty cool. It's something different. But then after a while, you're like, I got a black jersey with the Capitol building, and then I had this teal blue with
I forgot about the
and a
teals.
splash. It looked like a postage stamp. I don't know. I just think red, white, and blue And having capitals all in lowercase, I think is genius. But I mean, that's why they have alternate jerseys now. That's why they have third jerseys. That's why they have outdoor classic jerseys. That's why they have,
Yeah, every team has 4 or 5 of them now.
yeah. So it's not like it was just, back in the day where you had 2 and that was it. Now there's, I like the way they incorporated the eagle with the black, because we never had that before. It was always the black had the Capitol building and the teal blue had the eagle on it. So I like the way they brought those 2 together.
I completely forgot about the teal one. That would be a sweet one to bring back for next year's whatever you want, retro or third jersey or
whatever. I think it's
stadium series, outdoor game, Heritage Classic.
Actually, one of my favorite ones is the one they wore in the outdoor the Winter Classic against Chicago, the burgundy one with the blue W.
Ooh, yes.
And then they had
the
stars over each part of the W representing the district, Maryland and Virginia. I thought that was pretty sharp.
That one was nice. They had, what was the other one? They had, I want to say it was almost like a darker red one, like a maroon almost. Is that the same one?
That's the same one, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was this
No.
Okay.
You're right. The maroon was the color, not burgundy. It was maroon.
Yeah. No, I liked that. It was that was a classy one. There's I prefer a lot of third jerseys over the standard home and away, except for that Tampa one from this year with like the lightning, there was lightning, obviously is the name of their team, but they had like raindrops. It just looked very like one of the PR guys let their kid draw something and they're like, let's put that on a jersey.
I mean, I think a lot of teams ran out of ideas. I mean, like, look at Montreal. They just keep
Expos,
like it's did not like those.
They got to bring back the leaf and the barber pole.
Yeah, the CAC.
Yeah.
I mean, what can you do, right?
So a question that, I mean, this predates Adam joining the show, but one of the favorite questions that my original co-host Justin had was, if you had your way, and it doesn't have to be guys you played with, who would your ideal defensive pairing in front of you be?
Ooh, that's a good question. Lidstrom would be one.
That's a great answer.
Yeah.
Boy, Ray Bork would be a tough one not to have too. Yeah, I would say those 2.
Solid choice.
I mean, those are 2 great picks.
Yeah. If you didn't have to play goalie, what position would you want to play?
Either power forward or stay-at-home defenseman. Probably more power forward.
Yeah.
To get in there and hit, and these are the things I missed when I was a goalie. Especially when I get pissed off and all I could do is turn around and break my stick like a baby. I couldn't run anybody in the corner.
I was reading you have a few records with Washington that still have been beat as goalies, and one of them is most penalty minutes in the playoffs with 12 in one season. I don't know if that's
in the playoffs.
Yeah, or
wow.
Maybe career wide. Maybe it's like your career. You had 12 minutes in the playoffs, but I mean, it's still pretty wicked.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I didn't take too many penalties. I took a high sticking penalty on Marty St. Louis.
That's not fucking very hard. You maybe put your arm up on the post or something.
No. I was shooting the puck around the wall, and my follow through finished.
Yeah, that little guy got right in there.
Yeah, and I hit him, and I gave me a high sticking with my stick being at my hip height.
Yeah.
But that's really the only penalty I can recall in the playoffs.
Well, I mean, again, I mean, Jeremy Roenick gave me the gears for getting my stats wrong. So, I mean, if you have to, you can give me the gears too. It's all right. It's what
I mean. If it's written down somewhere, it's written down somewhere. I mean,
well, yeah.
You know what, though? I remember 3 years in a row, I played goalie house league, and I led my team in penalties all 3 years.
You led your team?
Yeah, on my team. I'd come out of my net and just, pucks coming down the ice and somebody skating, and I was bigger than everybody else. So I'd just stand my ground and hit them, and then I'd get an interference penalty or go around my net to play the puck, and guys coming around like putting pressure, and I'd stay out there and throw the hit. And house league is no contact,
Right.
and like you said, somebody's top of the crease can't see, a little hack. I was never shy, and it was always the same ref every game. Fuck you, Josh Coyle. Sorry, camera's there. Fuck you, Josh Coyle.
I think I had
Time.
I might have had 30, 40 minutes one year, my last year in junior. I remember I had a goalie version of a Gordie Howe hat trick. I had an assist, a penalty, and a goal.
That's
That is
unreal.
unbelievable.
Yeah, against Seattle.
Yeah.
Do you have any goalie fights?
Yeah, I was just about to ask that.
I have 2, so no
I got in
pressure.
a fight with John Blue. John was playing for Providence. I was playing for Portland. No, I got more fights with players than I did with goalies.
Well, that's fine. I mean, how many fights do you have under your belt?
4 or 5. I got 2 times I had to help bail Dale Hunter out. He got stuck with the biggest guy. One was Jesse Belanger in Boston. And then the other one was Francois Leroux, who was playing for Pittsburgh at the time. And Huntsy always got squared up with those guys when we had line brawls. And I came in and helped out, and I came out after Francois. Francois, I think it's 6'6" at the time, and I came in hot and high, and he just forearmed me right in the chest, and I kind of slid between his legs and crawled up his backside, and then Hunts and I tag teamed him. And then with Jesse, I came in over Huntsy and just started throwing some punches, and then I had Byron Defoe on my back, and we were best friends at the time. We still are, but and so we squared off, and nobody threw a punch, and we were just kind of smiling and kind of giggling and jolly. And we were right by the Boston bench, and I remember one of the guys on their bench would say, "Will you two bleeps stop smiling and start throwing them?" And Byron had this rush of adrenaline and just grabbed my jersey and pulled it over my head. And I said, "Byron, don't you do it." And to his credit, he never did. So we got broken up. And that summer, I hosted a golf tournament here in town, and Byron came down to help support it. And we were having beers after in the lounge, and a few of the people that were there came in, and we started talking about the dance. We called it the dance, not a fight, the dance. And they asked who won the fight. And I said, well, nobody really threw a punch. It was just more of a, just jogging around. And Byron said, "Oh, hold on a minute." He pulled out his wallet, and he had the front page of the Boston Globe, and it had the picture of my jersey over my head with his hand cocked. And he said, "Well, I'm not going to say anything, but you guys can draw your own conclusion from this newspaper article."
I love the fact that he pulled it out of his wallet.
Yeah, he had it folded up in his
waiting
wallet. I think
for
he
that
knew
day.
something was going to come up at the golf tournament. So
Yeah, waiting for that day.
Yeah.
That's a real friend. Let's be real. That's a real
good
friend.
buddy.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great.
Was your fighting style? I mean, I know nowadays it'd probably be frowned upon, and I mean it was also different. I was always playing guys that wore cages. But was your style, leave the blocker on?
No, because you'd get a spearing major for that.
Really?
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, thank you,
and
Josh
fine,
Boyle.
and fine. So, I mean, every once in a while there'd be a scuffle in front of the net or whatever, and it's just like, you're not squaring off with anybody. You're just trying to get a shot in somewhere, and so I'd keep it on, and you hit somebody in the ribs or whatever. But if it was ever whatever you squared off, we always took the gloves off.
Respect.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I want to run something past you, and you let me know if you think I made a smart decision. I got some flack online. Last week, I made a bet with Cabby. And I bet him that Cole Caulfield will score more goals than Mitch Marner next year. And if he wins, he has Marner. If he wins, I have to get a Leafs tattoo. But yeah.
Yes, the facial expression was the best.
But if I win, He's getting us to Toronto, and we're going to a Jays game.
How's your pain tolerance?
I have a couple tattoos. I'm fine with the tattoo.
Okay, well, better find a good spot to get that tattoo put.
Do you have any tattoos?
Yeah, I got a few.
Where would you recommend I put a Leafs tattoo?
Right in the middle of your butt crack.
Yeah. You know, like a Leafs tramp stamp.
Yeah.
Good.
Somewhere where nobody can see it. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's a win. That's why I love this bet because it's a win-win for me because I either get to watch you get a Leafs tattoo,
Yeah.
or go watch a Jays game with Cabby, which would be.
I was gonna say this.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're kind of.
that's great for me.
Yeah.
Like, I like he didn't even tell me about the bet, and then he just threw it out last week, and I was just sitting here like, great, this is awesome for me.
Yeah. You ever see the movie?
Why would you think that Caulfield's going to score more than Marner?
I don't know. He has pretty much the same Marner has right now, and he's only played 40 games. Like, he was on pace for a 40-goal season. Marner is still at, I think, 27 or 28.
I think it's to 28, yeah.
And I think Caulfield ended his season at 26.
I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah,
Well, fuck, you have me a lot more nervous now.
Yes, this is great.
You know
Well,
what?
I'm
I
not an
might
expert
also-
on it. I'm just.
You're only a National Hockey League goaltender and
Yeah.
developer now. You're not an expert, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
I don't know. I just see who Toronto has to set up Marner and who Montreal has. I don't know.
Slick Nick, baby.
Yeah,
Oh, I know, but you know how that goes.
yeah.
You get the more success he has, obviously more people are going to key in on him next year. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah,
We'll
do you
see.
still watch hockey? Like obviously being in player development, but like you still like
As a fan,
just throw a game on and watch it, or you kind of like doesn't really interest me.
I mean, if it's a big game, yeah. I mean, like when the Rangers play Boston coming up here, I'll watch that. I mean, I have, I'm part owner of a junior team here in Tri-City, so whenever I'm in town and they're playing, I'm there watching them. Obviously, I watch Hershey in South Carolina a lot on the computer when I'm not there. So I do watch a lot. So it'd have to be a big game for me to just watch it as a casual fan and not as working,
Yeah.
There's a lot of hockey out there.
Oh, that's an understatement. Yeah.
as a dad, though, does your son play hockey?
No, my son's autistic, so he has a sensory issue when it comes to equipment. Like doesn't like it touching his body. We've had him out skating and things like that, but my girls tried it a little bit. My
Did
oldest
they ever
daughter
ask to play
enjoyed it.
goalie?
No. I would never let him do that. Not a chance.
Yeah, my mom actually had maybe seen me play 40 minutes total. I don't think she made it through an entire game.
I mean,
Just like,
Oh,
why are
they're-
they shooting pucks at you? And I'm like,
Yeah, moms are the worst. Moms are the worst. I remember playing, and my mom, European, she didn't understand really the rules of hockey, but I'd be in a game and I just had this sense that somebody was staring at me. And I would look up and it was just my mom. The play would be down the other end and my mom would just be staring at me the whole time. It was awkward.
yeah. I mean, I think it's like Broder's mom never watched him play a game in the NHL. I could be blowing this out of proportion, but I'm pretty sure like she wouldn't watch him because it would again like make her so nervous where like she'd have like a panic attack and wouldn't be able to do it. I could be completely wrong and making up shit. Sorry, Marty, if I'm making stuff up, but but yeah, no.
Well, you're probably right. I mean, moms are just they're protective of their kids and they get nervous for their kids, right?
That's fine.
So I know you grew up in Canada, but I know on any Olaf Kölzig hockey card that I have, birthplace has you as South Africa. Quick Google search, your parents, I believe, were from Germany.
Yep.
How did all of that unfold?
So my parents were in the hotel industry. When they were done with school, they moved down to Johannesburg because that's where their first opportunity was, I guess. They got married down there, and then they had me and my brother, and then my dad would get transferred around as he moved up up in management in the hotel industry. You know, he would change hotels, and he was working for Weston at the time, and got an opportunity at the Weston in Edmonton, and so we moved there when I was 4, and yeah, and then lived in Canada ever since. I always tell I'm a German that was born in South Africa, grew up in Canada, works in the US. And so my buddy coined a phrase. He called me Germafricadian.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Get that on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did put it on a t-shirt. I have it actually.
Oh wow,
I have a t-shirt with it.
That was actually something that I was my fiance, God bless her heart, just doesn't understand the sporting world, and just trying to make conversation. Who do you have on the podcast this week? Olaf Kölzig. And she's like, well, does he speak English? I'm like, yeah,
very well.
I'm
actually,
like, he was actually born in South Africa. And she goes, how the fuck did somebody from South Africa end up playing hockey? I'm like, no. He then moved to Canada, but then he grew up in Canada, but then played in the States. And she goes, have a good episode.
Yeah, just go downstairs.
It was too much for her to wrap her head around.
Yeah.
Well, Don Cherry for the longest time thought I was pure European and didn't understand the language either.
I mean, that checks out. That's just Don. Yeah, 100% checks out there. Yeah. You could have been talking to him just great English, and he still would have called you European.
Yeah.
Right. That was actually my biggest fear, is that he thought I was a European, because he was not.
That's a no. Yeah.
So.
Don.
Yeah,
No
Don.
No Don.
They're not going to make too many more like him.
No.
Canceled pretty quick.
Yeah.
So, I mean, now that you've retired, I know you're still involved in the hockey, and you say you still watch a lot. What has been your favorite pastime since retiring? And I know golf is probably the popular answer, but you got any weird hobbies like collect stamps?
No, golf. I mean, obviously golf. I got back into skiing a few years ago. Pickleball.
Oh my God, a man that speaks my language.
You just
Out of
became
the
Joel's
pickleball?
favorite guest. Wow.
Yeah.
I love it.
So, yeah, we keep busy, keep active.
You a doubles fan or you a singles player?
Doubles. I'm not. Mobility isn't good
Same.
enough for singles.
Same.
Yeah.
That's great.
Well, if you're ever looking for a doubles partner and you're near Cornwall, let me know.
Got it.
Yeah.
We just started doing this last year at training camp. We got all the coaches, American League, NHL, and the development staff. We all, after a day at the rink, we'd all head to the courts and put a tournament on, and became pretty popular.
Yeah, who's been your best partner?
Blaine Forsyth. This is one of the assistants.
Actually, Forsyth, yes. Yeah. He's an assistant in Washington.
In Washington, yeah.
Okay.
Scott Murray is the goalie coach, is really good.
Okay, who's the worst? Who do I want to avoid playing with?
You know what? Jimmy Slater, and not that he's bad.
Like former defenseman Jim Slater?
No, forward. He played for Atlanta and Winnipeg.
Yes, okay. Yeah.
He's got the yips when it comes to serves. He's good. Once the ball's in play, he's good. But when he's serving, it's like what's his name there? Wild thing from Major League before he got his glasses.
Oh, fucking
Charlie Sheen.
Yeah,
most Wild thing, but
God. Ricky Vaughn.
Yeah.
Ricky Vaughn. Yeah. That's Jimmy when it comes to serving.
You know what?
I mean, people in the next court got to look out. Like, he shanks it right off his paddle.
Guilty. Not that bad, but like over by like 3-4 inches, and like consistently. And it just, I will dive, I will tear up my knees and elbows to save it once it's in play. But almost every single time I got to apologize to my partner and be like, we're only getting points off your service.
That's great.
Can you serve?
Not bad. Yeah,
Okay, I'll lay my body on the line for you, Wooly.
Yeah.
not bad. I've been watching a few YouTube. Like I said, we really got into it last year. So we started watching YouTube on these different serve techniques, and I got a couple that I'm polishing right now.
Yeah.
Well, if you're interested in being my video coach for pickleball, uh, you got a job.
Yeah.
And you can spend all the time you want at home. We'll do it over Zoom. I'll put on my bike shorts and we'll.
Yeah. That's great.
But it really is good. I mean, I love tennis when I was younger, but I mean, that was a lot of work. Pickleball is it's a blast.
It's like ping pong for the lazy. It's nice.
Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, that's great.
I have a nice shirt. It says, real men stay out of the kitchen.
Nice.
But there's a pickleball racket. It's not misogynistic. It's
Yeah, I know. Do you wear a headband? You got a sweatband?
I want to, but there's only one guy that wears a headband, and he actually wears tinted glasses. I guess the lights in the church hall that we play in are too bright for him. He wears blue tinted glasses and a headband.
Nice. Go retro too. Wear the tight white tennis shorts.
Yeah, he's not there yet, but he does have some solid white New Balances.
Oh yeah. Only breaks them out for pickleball.
Yeah,
sure.
and you always hear the like.
Does he have the tube socks that go just below the calf?
You know what? He's always wearing track pants. And that's one of my things. If you're wearing track pants to do athletics, like people that wear track pants to play soccer, I just don't trust them as people. So I try and not be his partner. Just the pants thing throws me off. I don't know.
It's like people that drink small coffees. That just grinds my gears.
Yeah, I don't know.
What's he trying to hide?
Yeah. Maybe. No, yeah.
I don't drink any coffee.
No,
we'll just leave it at that.
I don't need it.
Yeah.
I just don't take my ADHD medication. I'm good for the day.
Yeah. That took a wild turn.
Well, whatever.
I love it.
I mean, that's what the people want. They want unexpected. Yeah. They would assume they watch the show and they're like, we're going to talk hockey for an hour. I mean, what would you bring on a desert island, Ole?
What's that? What would I bring on a desert island?
One item on a desert island.
Ooh. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. I mean, I love wine, but
that's the pirate answer.
Yeah, yeah, I love it.
I mean, if I had wine, I'd bring a wine fridge, but then you need to plug it in somewhere, right?
Yeah.
You can't have anything electronic because you got to plug it in somewhere.
Very true.
Ooh, that is a good question.
Yeah, yeah.
A Wilson volleyball.
Volleyball.
Hey, Wilson volleyball.
Respect.
Yes, let's go. Let's go, Wilson.
We did some interviews. There was a World Junior A Championship came to Cornwall, and I asked all the players anytime we did interviews that question. And I mean, maybe you go over this with the player development, but they all have, very standard. They're looking for the same questions all the time. In like the amount of them thrown off and not sure what to say, and like deer in headlights, it was magical.
Yeah,
it's like, do I tell them what they want to hear, or?
Well, they didn't know, and they're all like, "Well, what should I say?" And I'm like, "That's up to you. I don't care what you bring. Bring whatever you want."
Yeah.
And a few of them went like, "I would bring my teammate, whatever." So then I made sure I'm doing my media thing for the next game. I request that next player. And it happened. I had Team Sweden. And by, day, 6 of the tournament, I had 20 Swedish players sitting right outside, like on the steps of where I was doing the interview, watching who was going to be picked next for the next question. But, no, I think my favorite answer would have, I think was from the Swedish coach. And he's just like, I would bring a knife. And what are you gonna do with a knife? And he says, kill things. And I was like, holy fuck.
All right,
That's actually Rasmus Dahlon's dad.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Geez, settle down, Mr. Intense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
that's
survivalist.
Yeah.
Survivalist.
True.
Yeah.
All right. How long have we had you on? How long have we bugged you for?
Well, just under an hour and a half.
Oh shit. Well, I'll
Well, you were
leave
gone
with-
for half an hour of that.
Yeah.
I've been
Hey, nature calls. Nature calls. I get
well,
it.
I'm new to the gym, and with the surgery I just had, I need a high, heavy protein diet. So I've just been like 1 cup of protein milk with 2 cups of pure whey protein, no sugar, nothing. And it just absolutely kills me every fucking day.
Yeah, I
Every
know.
day.
Yeah, I told him, I explained to him at the start, so it's all good.
No,
It's okay. Like I said, the first 5 minutes we kind of give you the gears, but
that's okay.
you know, I don't think you have.
I won't even watch the first 5 minutes. I'll just fast forward to when I come. I like hearing the sound of my own voice. If you haven't,
That's good stuff.
I want to ask you one more question before you leave. This
Yeah.
is another question I asked Team Sweden. What is your thought on poutine? Not the president, but the food, because they were confused. A few of them gave me political answers. They're like, we wish the Russians were here, but we understand the sanctions against them. And I'm like, no. Fries, gravy, cheese. What do you think? What do you think of poutine?
Oh,
I
I can say so much that we're missing the Russians sportsly in tournaments.
Oh, no. Not Vladimir Putin. Poutine. Cheese curds with fries and gravy.
poutine. I just go with fries.
Yeah, just fries.
Yeah,
no gravy
straight,
or cheese.
straight, no.
It's legendary.
Thank you.
Love it. I love
Yeah.
it.
A lot of the hockey players I've asked that. I mean, from the Canada, U.S., where we don't really eat that. Not part of our,
The right answer.
Yeah,
The answer. Yeah.
The answer the nutritionist and the weight guys and coaches want to hear. But thank you for being honest.
Yeah. I mean, how can you not be? That's one of the great joys in life.
Yeah.
It is.
100%. And now
Yeah.
it just came out that the Blue Jays are making hot dog poutines this year.
Oh, fuck.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
God. I
Yeah.
don't want to ruin a good thing.
That's why I mean, like, I'm a hot dog guy.
Well,
and
ballpark steamies, legendary.
Yeah.
Poutine,
Yeah, keep 'em separate.
legendary. You would think, okay, maybe they go together, but no.
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 See, no. I'm drinking beers at the Jays game.
That's
not
like
eating hot dogs.
Pineapple on pizza. That's a no for me.
Yeah. The hard no.
Yeah. Well, Olaf, it has been a pleasure for the hour that I got to talk to you.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I could talk to you all day. You're very.
Yeah.
It's like talking to a friend at the bar.
Yeah.
Like Cheers, almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been called Norm a few times.
Yeah.
I was gonna say you have the Norm demeanor. I have Norm's body.
That's good.
Well, thank you for coming
Yeah.
on. It's been an absolute pleasure. I mean, I would love to have you on again in the future. Maybe when Ovie breaks this record, we can recap and
How you showed Ovie the ropes on scoring goals and you helped him
Yeah.
pass Gretzky.
Definitely.
Yeah.
How I built up his confidence in practice.
That's right.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And you didn't wince when you got hit with his shot.
Yeah.
You told him where to stand on the circle on the power play.
Yeah. Yeah. And if I hadn't have given
Fucking
up that
legend.
one
Yeah.
against
Yeah.
him, that he might not have the record.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so true.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
There's an asterisk next to that
Exactly.
record.
Yeah. I love it.
Exactly.
Love it.
Well, perfect. Do you have any recommendations on who we should have on next? Any interesting people you would recommend us?
Well, there's a lot of interesting people. Well, you should give my old buddy, well, not my old buddy, my good buddy, old rival Byron Defoe, ex-Boston Bruin.
And I'm going to let him know I think you won the fight.
Do that.
Oh,
100%.
man. Let's
I will
go.
let him know. Is he on socials?
He's on Twitter. I can reach out to him too and let him know if
That would be very, very awesome.
We would love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Well, thank you again.
Yeah.
It's been an absolute pleasure. I loved our time.
Yep.
Maybe I'll think of a bet you and I can make next time, and I'll get a Godzilla tattoo, maybe the Barney one. Who knows?
the Barney one.
That's great.
You have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, guys. Thanks.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Take care.
Both guys, 5 minutes each for fighting.
I want to hear the side of it. I heard you had a pretty intense pre-game drink that you liked to drink. It was like a red syrup.
Yeah. Fuck. I don't know who brought that to in the room. It was in a box, and Dan said, "There you go, drink that. You'll be okay. You'll be all ready for the game." I'm like, "What the fuck is this?" So I grabbed it. I'll try anything. I'm an idiot. So I opened it, start drinking it. I'm not even done half. I'm fucking shaking. I'm like, just ready to go. Dude, I was so fucking pumped. It was unbelievable. Well, next game, there's no more. So they fucking teased me for absolutely nothing. Did you bring that? Who brought that, Cor?
I don't know who brought it, but you looked at me and I went, maybe half was a little too much.
Half was too much. I can't remember what it was, but it's something like NOS, but like triple what it was. Anyways,
Wow.
it was. I remember Dan Gerard drank a whole friggin' bottle and was almost having a fucking heart attack.
Who
those were good
who is
games.
your favorite teammate to play with?
Of all times or on the Comets?
We can do both.
Okay, we'll go with Comets. Nick Dixon.
I can't even tell you who the fuck that is.
Oh, fucking Nick Dixon. Anyways, my probably Rabby.
Corey?
Yeah, Matthew Rabby and I are pretty close still. So yeah.
I'd have to say Lamoureux. We
Benny.
sat we sat beside each other for the 2 years there in the same right beside stall to stall, and he plus I met you guys in LaSalle, right?
Yeah.
Like Duras, Lamoureux, yourself.
La Branche. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Lamoureux is pretty funny. I mean,
Jesus Christ. He's the only guy that I know that can play trumpet with you know what. See, I'll be very polite. I won't say what that is, but it's hilarious.
It is funny.
I don't know what the fuck that means, but I'm gonna have an interesting Google search after this.
It's when you take your private part and pull it and make some trumpet sounds with it.
That's a fucking thing?
He could do.
Lamoureux?
Did he Lamoureux?
How the fuck, like, does this come about? Hey, boys, do you want to fucking see something?
We're in the showers, and all of a sudden, all you hear is, I'm like, what the hell is that? They turn around, he says, what? I said, what was that? Then he does it again. I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. I've seen everything.
Holy fuck.
Oh, fuck.
Wow.
I've seen some pretty fucking funny things there, man.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say to that. That's that
Hockey-
appeals.
Hockey players aren't all there.
Well, no fucking kidding.
You know what? The best part of playing hockey is not playing hockey, just hanging around with the guys.
Yeah, you know what? That's the camaraderie that I mean, especially you guys going into war the way you are in that league, like I feel like you form a brotherhood pretty quick with those types of guys. Like I wouldn't be getting punched in the face willingly for anybody.
It makes you tight, that's for sure. And like Pat said, I don't even play pickup anymore.
Neither do I.
If I could go to the rink and sit with the guys before they go out on the ice, skip the hockey game and meet them after in the dressing room, that's what I would do.
So
I don't miss the game at all.
wow.
So when I started at Cornwall, I was working at Midas. I hadn't played in 2 years. So there's this tool that comes in by the name of Nick Dixon. And he starts talking to me how rich he is and all that. And now he owns a hockey team. I'm like, well, good for you, man. Whatever. And then my boss, which was my buddy, he says, well, he used to play hockey, he used to fight all the time. Oh, we need a fighter. So anyways, he promised me the moon, whatnot. So I go up to Cornwall and I got to meet this guy by the name of Mitch Gagne.
Ah, tabarnak.
So I sit in the stands with Mitch Gagne and we start talking and he says, well, how much do you want? And I tell him how much. Oh, that's not going to work. I said, okay, well, see ya. I walk about 50 feet. He says, hang on for a second. Okay, I'll give you that. So he gives me what I want. Start playing there. Couple of games. There's like nobody in the stands. There's nobody. So we played against Soulange or whatnot, and there's this guy on the other side, a kid, Saint Jean, his name was, and it was natives in the stands, all together and drinking and whatnot. We were allowed to drink in the stands, I guess. So the Saint Jean kid comes to see me and says, "Let's go." I said, "Fuck you, you're just a kid. Fuck off." He said, "No, let's go." And he doesn't stop. Then fucking finally pisses me off. I drop, take off the bucket. I start wailing at him. But little did I know the little fucker was a lefty. So he punched me right in the nose, straight in the nose, broke the nose. I start bleeding like a sieve. Then I get really mad and I fucking punch him out. I knock him out. So I check my nose. I'm bleeding everywhere. So I grab the blood and I do stripes under my eyes like this. And I go like this. And the natives lost their fucking mind. Lost their mind. They were so happy. They were coming meet me at the exit saying, "Oh, we love you. We love you." About a month later, we started with 200 people in the stands, 800, 1,000. Then at the end of when we won the cup, it was full house.
Yeah. Fuck. Oh my God. What I would give to go back in time just to have that championship season back.
It was a good season, man.
It was fun. You can't get around that.
No, it was really fun. I really enjoyed it.
People enjoyed it. I think they got their money's worth. That was
oh shit.